Alright, what is up, gamers? It's time to talk about Magic the Gathering. I've had, let's say, mixed to extremely negative feelings about the game for the last 5 or so years. We don't really need to get into all of that. But you know, for about 20 years before that, I really truly loved it. And I'm always trying to find some way that I can re engage with it, enjoy it again, focus on the parts that I like. And an idea that will come to mind to many watching this video that like Magic the Gathering is to make a cube. I love playing cubes, I love vintage cube, and cube lets you sculpt the play experience you like. You can put all of the parts of the game you like, take out all the parts that you don't. And I've actually tried putting together a cube of my own on a number of occasions, but it's very intimidating, very overwhelming. You feel like it's pretty hard to beat Vintage Cube, which is what I've played the most and enjoy the most. You feel like you're probably just going to end up with Vintage Cube minus a few cards that bug you, plus a few pet favorites, and that really isn't too exciting. Or you can go in a completely different direction and have a theme of your own, try to accomplish some other goal. And that appealed to me a lot, but I never really could settle on any sort of like thesis or theme that I really wanted to work with. Until earlier today, I was killing time during a meeting where I didn't have much to contribute. And I was amusing myself by going on Scryfall and searching for different creature types and sorting them by mana cost and seeing, what is the biggest dog? What is the biggest octopus? What is the biggest fish? What is the biggest squirrel? And it made me realize how much this is something I really love in Magic the Gathering. That all of these different animals are represented by creature types. There's sometimes tribal synergy among these things. They often have some mechanical identities in common, colors where they appear most frequently, mechanics that they're associated with, positions on the mana curve. And it suddenly occurred to me that this could maybe be the theme of my cube. An animal cube that I'm going to call the Menagerie cube. And basically, I thought about this like all day as I was running errands and doing work and eating my dinner and everything, and I just got more and more excited about it. And moreover, I just really wanted to like yap about it and express the various things that I was excited about and what I wanted to accomplish with it. So I was like, let's make a video of producing kind of a design document that can be my guide for what I'm trying to make. And then let's jump into Cube Cobra and start trying to put together the core of this cube. So, let's talk about goals of the cube. Strong animal focus. I think that goes without saying. I don't want anthropomorphic animals, generally. No non-animals. And maybe legends, maybe not, but few legends, let's say. I want to have a fairly low power level. This is not meant to compete with Vintage Cube or other powered cubes in that sort of gameplay. Instead, I want kind of like strong support cards, tutoring, drawing, selection, mana, fixing, etc. And then kind of like medium game plan cards. This is like your curve of creatures, synergies, etc. And then fairly weak but necessary endgame cards. And basically, I want to win most games by turning creatures sideways. No major engines, no combo kills. And as much as possible, I want to kind of replicate the feeling of Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime duels. So, building out successively stronger creatures that share a theme and synergize, accumulating in a boss monster that is your win con. Oh wait, this all is meant to be one. There, okay. I want this to be kind of like a two-dimensional synergy experience where various mechanical archetypes are supported. E.g. like discard synergy, go wide, go tall, counters, etc. But then also various animal tribal synergies are supported. And then basically it's like you pick support cards. Well, you pick, so it's kind of like you pick your mechanical archetype to get you to the end game. And then pick animal payoffs, animal tribal payoffs, that is, to end the game. So, and this is like boss monsters. Now, you might wonder, how much support is there really for this in Magic the Gathering? And I think there's already quite a bit, but I also want this to be an opportunity to design cards. I have been designing cards for as long as I've been playing Magic, and I've been playing Magic since I was like a little kid. You can find drawings in my old childhood sketchbooks of very crude Magic the Gathering cards that I tried to come up with. I kind of carried this as a creative hobby all the way up until a few years ago, just sort of idly designing cards and mechanics whenever I was bored. Probably have designed like hundreds, if not 1,000 cards throughout the years. Just for fun, you know, just to kind of think about design and explore it and stuff. And I especially enjoyed, as I think many people do, taking characters from other properties or ideas from other properties and trying to express them in the Magic mechanics, trying to tell that story or represent that character. And then Universes Beyond completely and utterly ruined the fun of doing that for me forever. And I became very, very demoralized around designing cards. But I really missed it, and I've been searching for kind of an opportunity to reintroduce that into my life as a creative hobby. I want to design my own card game. That was one goal, to kind of channel that creative energy into just an entire game of my own creation. But that's a pretty hefty process, and, you know, that kind of takes a different sort of creative energy, at least at the start. So that's, you know, another project I have kind of cooking on the back burner. But in the meantime, you know, I really missed designing Magic cards. And with your own game, you know, however much you really like the mechanics of it, and you feel like you're building your ideal mechanical space, you're never going to be able to replicate the feeling of designing cards that interact with tens of thousands of existing cards, you know, and that, I think, is really well represented by trying to design cards that go into a cube. Because there you've got very specific goals and a very specific set of cards that you're trying to make these new cards interact with. So basically, I would want to design things to cover gaps in archetypes. So like I said, you know, this is kind of two-dimensional. There's some patterns of animals and mechanics that go together, but not completely. And by that I mean, you know, let's say there's some rats that have some discard synergies, but there's also non-rats that have discard synergies, and there's rats that have other mechanics represented. So you do yourself a disservice by trying to stick entirely to just one archetype, one creature type. Instead, you want kind of a blend and to try to build like broader synergies across your base. So there, I think I can cover a lot of ground by adding custom cards that will, you know, kind of fuse together mechanical ideas and creature ideas, and kind of like signpost some directions you can go to expand what your deck is doing. Because you don't want to get too myopic in a cube, you know, but at the same time, I don't want to just have a lot of generically good stuff. Like, I want you to feel like your deck has some kind of cohesive theme, that things kind of go together in certain ways. So that's one big thing. And then support cards that add some tribal excitement, e.g. interaction, draw, removal, etc. I think the hardest thing that will challenge me as I build this out, if I'm really trying to make it balanced, is removal. Because in a creature-focused environment, it's like you need removal to be strong, but if removal is even slightly too strong, then you remove a lot of the fun. And especially if we're trying to build this kind of experience where you're kind of building up resources and having these skirmishes, and you're trying to set up conditions to unleash a big boss monster, you don't want that boss monster to just die to Doomblade right away, but you don't also want it to be totally uninteractable when it gets out there. So that's going to be tough. So I think designing custom removal cards will help. Can really, really tune the power level. And then also, I just want things where it's like, you know, draw a card. If you control a bat, draw 2 cards. Remove target creature that isn't XYZ. You know, things that are a little narrower or kind of have some synergy or payoff. There's a lot of options here. This is something I really want to explore, and I think these are ones that are relatively easy to design because basically I'm just going to be taking existing cards, scaling their power level to an appropriate place, and then trying to staple on some sort of synergy. And then finally, like, boss monsters, I think are something that's going to be really lacking. I kind of want all of the different creature types that are represented by any, you know, decent amount to have some sort of boss monster that they're building towards. I just also think that those are very, very fun to design. I'm going to try to make them very different from one another, although, you know, their place in the curve is going to be similar, and their role in trying to close out the game through one of many different axes is going to be similar. Also, like, rituals, you know, e.g. tap 5 wolves, search library for a wolf, and enter it. This is something directly from Yu-Gi-Oh! That I always think is very exciting and hype, is trying to come up with enchantments or artifacts or creatures that are lower in the curve that can kind of like boost you ahead, but only if you meet kind of like strict conditions. So there's not going to be like natural order in the deck or in the cube. There's not going to be Reanimator. It's not going to be something that's like generic or that powerful, but there will be routes to the big creature that don't just involve like curving up your mana. I think ultimately I'm aiming for like 75% existing cards, 25% new cards. but, you know, that's kind of subject to change, and I really want to build out a foundation of existing cards that I think really fit the bill, and then start working on new cards. Trying to think of what else I want to make a goal. I think that's like the main thing. So now let's start talking about archetypes. And as I said before, this is going to be kind of two-dimensional. So we'll have like animal types. Oh, I forgot. Oh my gosh, I forgot. One of the biggest ideas I had. Custom mechanic. So I started thinking about, what do I like about animals? It's like a very five-year-old, second grader sort of thought exercise, but I was really ruminating on why I find animals so much fun, and why I like learning about animals, and why just this presence in Magic the Gathering of all of these different real-world animals and their mechanical identities is so exciting to me. And one of the things I realized is I really, really like animal taxonomy. I play this game every day called Menagerie, where basically you are trying to navigate your way down to a mystery animal. I already did it today, so I know what it is, but you know, you like have to... Oh, it already reset. I actually don't know what it is today. Anyways, you just make guesses, and it narrows it down more and more, so it's kind of testing your ability to understand how different animals are classified. Like there I screwed up because obviously a sardine is only a teleoste and not a percomorpha, whatever. But I really just like the taxonomical sorting of animals. And so I thought it would be an interesting design space to kind of enhance... Oh yeah, like... I like batching mechanics a lot. There's a card that I always found really inspirational called, I believe, the Swarmlands. Swarmyard, thank you. This batching of insect, rat, spider, and squirrel I just think is so much fun. And I like doing more cards and finding other good examples of cards like that that allow you to batch across a couple different animal types that you might end up in. So my idea is to take that even further with taxonomical mechanics. So e.g. target mammal gets +3/+3. Or actually, realistically, it'd be more like target creature gets +1/+1 if that creature is a mammal. It gets +3/+3 instead. Something like that. And of course, mammal is not defined in the Magic rules. It is defined in the taxonological rules. And I think as long as I keep it to like mammal, fish, reptile, things at that level, I would imagine most players are going to intuitively know whether or not any given creature qualifies. There might be edge cases, but whatever, look it up. Wikipedia is free. And I just think that's like a very fun, exciting way to batch things that doesn't require me to spell out if that creature is a dog, cat, bear, wolf, otter, boar, ox, whale, dolphin, etc., etc., etc. So I think this is a very, very fun space to explore. And then I can start giving like family-based mechanical identities. So, you know, wolves kind of have their own mechanical identity. Cats have their own mechanical identity. Oxen have their own mechanical identity. But then there's also mechanics that all of them share that are facilitated by these cards that are just for mammals in general. So maybe, you know, it's too narrow to try to build just one creature type, but you can try to focus on like one family group or something. All right, so with all that said, let's start thinking about like animals I want to represent, and what I kind of hope that they will do. And this is just based on my intuition of what the different types of animals do in Magic the Gathering. And then what we're going to do after this is start building it out in Cube Cobra and picking out cards and seeing how much of that is actually supported by the cards and how much of that is just my own kind of vague memories or idealization or whatever. This is kind of what I would like them to do, and maybe I will add custom cards to kind of support these animals doing these things. But you know, that yeah, you get what I'm saying. Okay, so like dog, protection type effects, rescuing, etc., fetching things. I don't know if dogs actually fetch stuff, but I like the idea of like a dog that like fetches lands, like a fetch land, you know? Usually green, white, red, I want to say. Usually pretty small, like 1 to 3 CMC. Wolves, bigger. Usually like pumping mechanics. Obviously there's like werewolves too. I'm not gonna do werewolves. As I said, I just want like critters. But I think even putting aside werewolves, there's a lot of wolves that like pump themselves up in different ways. Wolves I associate with like first strike, haste, mostly in green and red. Cats, small, life gain, synergy. Say they often also have like first strike. Birds. Oh, cats are mostly white. I guess green, white. I think the other thing, I'll put this up in goals just so I remind myself. No real feeling of balancing colors. Focus more on balancing archetypes. And I think making fixing strong. I would prefer people to just focus on the synergies of the animal types than worry about color synergies and stuff. So birds, you have like mana generation. That's bop. I don't know if there's others, but I like the association of birds and creating mana, so maybe I'll design some more. Very small. Flying, obviously. I picture a lot of like Flash plus ETB interaction, and I want to lean into that. I think that would be very cool to kind of have as, like, instead of trying to fit in a requisite amount of counter magic and other interaction, instead you kind of like fill that out with birds and like other kind of related animals that interact. What else we got? Should have prepared a list of this. Oh, bears. Tutus. There's like a bear legend that cares about tutus and creates tutus. Creating bear tokens is huge. I can think of a lot of bears that do that. Going wide. And then having like wide pumps. I picture a lot of bears that like all other bears get +1/+1 or etc. Sometimes trample, kind of small for trample. I don't know. The bears I think really do need to be tutus as much as possible. They can do other stuff. They can show up in large numbers, but they should be tutus. Insects. Many 1/1s. I think Insect Queen is like the iconic insect in my mind, where it just generates more insects as it attacks, and it like comes in with a bunch of insects and stuff. Pinging effects. Flying often. Disruption. Xanthad Swarm, I think is what that card is called. When it attacks, your opponent is silenced. I like that as like an area of insects. I picture insects being like big attack, low toughness. And like evolution, I want to capture in insects. I think this is, you know, very classic Yu-Gi-Oh thing, the perfectly ultimate great moth. Trying to replicate that in custom cards and stuff, I think would be very fun. Likewise, spiders, reach, obviously, bigger butts. Usually pretty low mana curve. In terms of like big mana curve stuff, a lot of them are like fantastical. So I don't know if I don't know. I'll just keep doing them as I think of them. Crabs, milling, big butt, low attack, cheap, octopus, interaction, tap, down, etc. Also milling, sometimes like evasion, I think is a cool thing to represent with octopus. Turtle, huge butt, slow mechanics, like meandering tower shell, I think is what that card is called, where it goes away and comes back later. Yeah, like what are the big guys? A lot of the big guys are fantasy, you know, dragon, whatever, which I don't think I want to include, but I don't know. I would rather include dragons and minotaurs. Well, you know, dragons and drakes and stuff wouldn't be too bad. Hydras wouldn't be bad. Maybe hydras is a good one. But yeah, basically like magical animals. Maybe. We'll see how we're doing. Okay. Then there's like various like I'm just gonna call them critters. Squirrels, mice, rats, rabbits, etc. And these are mostly from, why can't I think of what that set's called? It just came out. Well, it came out like last year. Gloomhaven gave these big treble identities, but those guys are mostly anthropomorphized, so I don't know if I want to use them so much. I don't know, maybe this is enough that we can start poking around. How long is this video? 28 minutes. Okay. This is the end of part 1, I guess. We got our goals. We got our archetypes. Well, we got some archetypes. We're gonna fill this out more later. I guess we can talk about like mechanical synergies too. I would say like infects is one that's probably doable. Flyers, generically, go wide, go tall. Go tall, of course, is a little separate from like boss monster. This is more like Voltron. And then you Voltron throughout the mid game to try to keep pressure on, and then you play your boss monster. This card, Threshold, Madness, kind of bundled together. Life gain, I would say, is an archetype that I'd want to support. And here the temptation is to come up with 10 and then map them to color pairs. But I think it's more like I just want to have these represented. And like when it comes to picking cards of different animals, like looking for somewhat of a balance across these so that all of these feel kind of like viable routes. And then, like I said, it's like you kind of pick cards based on these synergies And then based on what animals you end up represented in, you look for like your curved toppers and stuff. Like big butts matter. I enjoy mill, but it will probably suck, and that's fine. What else? What else? What else did we say in here? Like I think like control should be viable, but it should be like creature control. Like you establish lock pieces that are creatures, and you're like using your creatures and like passing opportunities to attack to try to lock down the board, rather than just like, you know, you're kind of like control tempo sort of play. And then of course it's like you still try to curve out into your boss monster or whatever to finish the day. So it's like all of these I want to feel pretty different in the mid game, and I want the boss monster to kind of like reflect what it is you've been doing up until that point. But I don't really need it to be like, oh, the win con is actually mill. Rather, I want it to be like you play King Crab, and King Crab has power and toughness equal to the number of cards in your opponent's graveyard, right? You see what I'm saying? Or even like gets -X where X is the number of cards left in your opponent's library or whatever. But I guess if you're milling that much, you might as well just win from mill. I don't know. I don't have to solve all these problems right now, you know? we're just getting there. We're just getting there. I think this is enough that I want to start actually like looking at some cards. And then I want to like start making like a wish list of cards that don't really currently exist that I want to design something for. And then this, I think, is where the fun will really start for me. I'll just start being able to design cards whenever I have an opportunity and want to think about stuff like that, and fill out this wish list. And then I'll make like another video and be like, hey, these are the custom cards I've come up with. And then the game plan, yeah, is basically like, I think basically build out the critter core, identify gaps for custom cards, build out support packages, draw, interaction, removal, tutoring, fixing, etc. And then print this mother. I don't know, like the implicit fifth step is like pray that 8 of my friends that like magic will be free on the same day on some insanely miraculous occasion. Which is the hardest part, because I just have kind of like disparate, random, smaller groups of friends that like magic, and it's very hard to coordinate that pool. And like I said, not really into the game as a whole right now, so it's not like I've been going to, you know, my friendly local game shop, even though in Toronto we do have an abundance of them. So the actual, like, printing and playing this cube is actually far less important than all of this stuff, and then like some gold fishing, testing, etc. And this is the part that I really enjoy. So this is really the only part that I care about. And then this is just, you know, icing on the cake. This is gravy. If we get to it, we get to it. All right, let's just get into it. Okay. So we want to go edit, smart search, advanced, and let's start with bird. The bird is the word. All right. So these are smart sorted, meaning that this is based on how much they think I would want to add it to the cube. And I believe that in turn is based on how popular they are in cubes. And then I think if I just click it, I get to add it? I don't know. Let's see. What do I like? I like Gilded Goose, for sure. I like River Hoopoe. Oh, I love River Hoopoe. That's my guy. We're definitely adding River Hoopoe. Baleful Strix. A little too strong, I think. The owls. I associate owl with, like, scry quite a bit. I suppose this is a pretty strong scry effect. This I quite like. And here I'm just gonna do, like, a philosophy of add it and then see, you know? I would rather just, like, add a bunch of stuff that seems cool and then pare it down later once I get a better understanding of what I think I want the power level to be and what we're missing and stuff. Mockingbird is cool. See, is this too anthropomorphized? I don't know. This is right on the line. Because it just looks like a normal-ass bird. But it do got that shit on. But we're going to try it. Judge's Familiar I like a lot. This is the kind of, like, bird interaction I was hoping for. Cheap bird, and then it interacts. Sage Owl. Nowhere near as strong as Scry 4. Although it looks vaguely like Scry 4. This thing is kind of cool, but probably too powerful in this kind of format. What I'm looking for... Silver Raven. Mutate? Do I want to put Mutate in here? I don't know. Surprised we haven't seen Bop yet. Did I miss it? Did I miss Bop? No, right? Am I crazy? Oh, it's... okay, alright. Well, we gotta add this. And then I can change... I can change it to, like, an art that I like later. Okay, how many birds do I got? Excuse me? Wait. Okay, yeah. So we added 6 birds so far. Bird is like a pretty important one. Maybe go up to 10 bird. And then I'm not, like, expecting to see a ton of, like, bird synergy that I want to get at this point. That'll be, like, more of a deliberate process later. When it's like, okay, what is it that I really want birds to do? And then I can kind of look for, or just make a bird that kind of puts that together. Like, all these, like, enter on draw, I think is pretty cool. Cycling bird is kind of cool. Artifacts, legendaries, and sagas. I don't know if we're gonna really have a whole lot of those. This is pretty cool for, like, a life gain, go wide synergy kind of thing. Add that. Something a little higher in the curve. This also seems very cool. This is kind of cool and gets, like, synergy with fish too, once we get some fish going in here. Oracle of the Alpha? For the fans? I don't think so. Swans? I really, really like Swans as a card. Let's add Swans. It's one of my favorite birds. May or may not end up fitting what's going on in there because, like I said, or maybe I didn't say, yeah, no major engines, no combo kills. Swans, I think, is, like, not that great unless you actually have some sort of combo. I think if you're just playing, like, value Swans, it's maybe a bit too much of an investment. But again, like, the whole idea here is for me to explore new card designs, too. So if that's the case, I could just make, like, a mini Swans that does a similar thing. Snow synergy, that's kind of cool, but I don't think we're gonna get there. I can't imagine that being strong enough. See, I think it's already rearranging the orders of these results based on cards that I'm adding, which is a little annoying, to be honest. Because now am I just gonna keep seeing cards that I didn't take, and then it moves it to, like, page 5 because it's like, I don't think you want this, so I'm gonna move it to page 5. We've definitely seen that one silly card, the Squirrel Dealer before. What other birds? See, it's like right now I'm just looking, but I definitely know a lot of Magic cards too. On the spot, it's hard to remember, but, like, I think this strategy of looking deliberately is going to actually pale in comparison to my later strategy that will just happen slowly and incidentally of adding cards as I think of them, or just poking around with random different types of more specific searches when I have time. Okay, let's just do, like, one more. And then I'll wrap up this video, and then, yeah, I'll work on it async, as they say. Because I don't know. I think building this out was very satisfying and useful, and I hope it was kind of interesting, maybe. But the actual picking of cards might not be that exciting. Especially at this early stage where I'm just, like, I'm just going, oh, I don't know, yeah, whatever. So yeah, let's just do one more. Let's do something fairly niche so it won't take too long. Fish. Okay, well now, already that's not a fish. And if we have taxonomical, oh, it's a jellyfish. Okay, then that's fine. It's a jellyfish. It's a jellyfish. It just shows up because jellyfish is a type of fish. Sure. Okay. I do like Manowar. We're gonna add Manowar. Double each type of... Ooh. That's kind of fun. Yeah, like, I think Jellyfish Tribal would be fun to represent here. Forgetting of your upkeep. Dandan for the fans? I don't know. Dandan isn't really even, like, a sensible fish to me. It doesn't fit the mechanical identity of fish very well. I guess Island Home is pretty fish associated. Land bounce. Giant koi. Mystic skyfish. Fish aren't very strong, are they? Where's the good fish? This is a legendary fish. I'm not super excited about that. The clue fish. Very silly. Yeah, whatever. We can keep thinking about it, man. We can. What the hell is this printing? Huh. Must be some secret lair thing. They made a old style Eldrazi fish. Yeah. What do I want fish to do? I didn't actually write down fish on my list. Make a wish on a fish. That I want to be represented mechanically. I will design a card that is make a wish on a fish. I think fish is more like we have various ways of making fish tokens, and then maybe I make a card that's like all fish, blah, 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 you know? This I think I would like the design of a lot if it was like 2 mana. Where's Stinging Barricade? What creature type is Stinging Barricade? What? What's that card called? Stinging Barrier. Analytics. It's just a wall? It's not like coral wall or jellyfish wall or something? This is a classic card, though. I don't think... This is maybe a little too low power level for what we're trying to do, but... Ooh, I like that. Okay. Alright, I think that's enough for now. I satisfied my yapping quota. We got the ideas down here. And, yeah, I'm excited to check back in as I make some progress. See ya.